everyone, it's your girl Sasha Laurel, and I'm here today with Shakia, and we're about to do On the Rise.
Hi guys, so I'm here with Sasha Laurel, aka Happy Foods 242, and we are at Drifters, Bahamas. I'm so excited that she's gonna feed me today. But Sasha, it is so great to be here with you today. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Ooh, Sasha. A lot of people actually think that my name is Sasha Laurel. My name is actually Sasha Lightbourne, but a lot of people know me as Sasha Laurel because that's the name that I use on my TV show, Happy Foods 242. A little bit about myself. I am a simple person that loves food. Food makes me happy. And I just try to do the best that I can, wherever I can, with whomever I can. That's me in a nutshell.
But Sasha, you don't look like you love food though. I mean, it's like you are like fit, you know?
I try to keep, shout out to my personal trainer, I try to keep,
so you try to balance it out.
Because, food here in the Bahamas is really good and it's really tasty, but it's also, there are some of it that's not so good for you. So I try to keep, a good balance of eating as well as working out.
So tell us about your career journey, because we used to see you in the forefront. We used to see you as a journalist with a microphone, on the news. So tell us about your career journey from where you started to where you are now.
So my career is a bit interesting. I have to go back to my formal years of educational training. So what I did was I did an Associates of Law at COB.
You actually did law.
I did law. So I did law and criminal justice. I have an associate's degree in that. And then I went off to school in London where I did an LLB in law as well. Now after I was finished that, what I decided to do was come home because I was really exhausted and I just wanted to take a break before doing the bar, because you can do the bar here or you can do it in London. So I came home, decided to take a break. Oddly enough, during this break, October is usually celebrated as Youth Month here in the Bahamas.
Right.
And so Wendell Jones, who owns Jones Communications, he was doing a series of shows on young people at the time. And so I would have done an interview with him, and he said to me, Sasha, I meet a lot of young people and they usually go off to school, they stick with their career, but it's not really what they love. And so I said, that's interesting. I love law and I'm sure that I'm going to be one of the best prosecutors in the country.
Like you never had no doubt with that?
No, never ever. And so what happened was he was like, well, maybe you should try news. So I said, news? So he's like, yeah, maybe you should try news. So I said, okay. So he said, you like English, right? So I said, I love English. I always excelled in English. And then what happened was he was like, well, you would never probably last a day in my newsroom. It's always on the go. It's busy. You never do anything. So I said, well, you don't give me a chance. Let me just see if I can do it. Like, I don't like people to challenge me.
I just want to say that was a challenge, but that's the law side of you.
So he was like, okay. So that was like we did that show on a Friday afternoon. Monday he hired me, like officially hired me
just like
as
that.
a news reporter. Wow. October 1st, 2007, I'll never forget it. And 7 years later, I was still there.
Wow.
So it just stuck. I had no formal training or anything. So I started in 2007 with Jones Communications as just a cut reporter. I didn't study journalism. I didn't know anything, but I fell in love. And that's where it pretty much started. I was with Jones Communications for 7 years, so until 2014. During that period, I also decided that this is something that I want to do, so let me train myself in it properly from an academic point of view. So I went back to COB.
You went back to school?
Back to school in 2012, and I did my bachelor's degree in media communications at UB. Well, COB.
Right,
It was COB then, so I still call it COB. So I put myself through that, and what's so interesting about that is when I went back in 2012, you were at the height of the election. So my day was pretty much shaped up in 6 to 2 I was working, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m.
So the news hot around the election time.
So 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. I was working in mainstream news. I was going to class from 2 to 8, going to rallies from 8 to 12, and going back to work at 6 a.m.
Okay. So how did you do that though? I mean, because that's a busy schedule. That's a real busy schedule.
I just did it. I just made it happen. I did that for the semester, I think, last 14 weeks. So I did that for 14 weeks. along with the little trips that were in there where you travel. I was, at the time, what our newsroom did to kind of give it some structure, certain people were assigned to certain parties. I was assigned to the DNA at the time.
Okay.
So anywhere that Mr. McCartney, Bramble McCartney went, he was the leader at that time, I went with him. So when he traveled, I traveled. When he went wherever to make whatever speeches, I went with him. And so that semester was pretty rough.
But I not only pretty rough, but I can imagine pretty exhausting
Very
mentally.
exhausting.
I can imagine your personal life is probably little to none.
Right.
You didn't really have time to go out and have fun,
Nope.
eat food, drink, and nothing that you would love to do to relax.
It was strictly work, school, work, school, work, school.
And so it was pretty much a balance that you
Yeah.
kind of had to put in place.
Yeah, but I mean, what I must say is Mr. Jones was very understanding. The news directors at the time, Makushla, Pinder, and Ruggian Smith, they were also very encouraging. So without them, I would not have made it. It really was tough. And my parents, of course, my parents are everything to me. I owe everything that I am to them. So they definitely would have encouraged me. And then obviously I had some friends and sorority sisters and some other people that are in my circle that would have just encouraged me to like, Sasha, you can do it, just make it happen. It's only 2 years. It'll be gone in no time. And that particular semester just was the hardest because we were in an election year.
Right.
So once I got over that semester, everything else was smooth sailing, and it was so easy because I was already in the business. So what I was being taught was only a reiteration of what I was already doing practically every day.
Right. But I could imagine at this point in your mind, you were living my dream. Because, okay, you had gone back to school, already did law, decided to go back to school because of a job opportunity that you received.
Right.
And you were working that job opportunity to your benefit. You said, you know what, let me capitalize on this. Let me go back to do journalism. Let me go back to do public relations. Let me put letters behind my name with this career path.
Right.
Now, oftentimes when we choose to do that, life happens.
Right.
Something happens or some things happen that could be viewed as setbacks in that process. Did you have any setbacks during that time?
I did. In fact, here's the thing, a lot of people don't know this part of my story. After I left Jones Communications in 2014, which would have been, I think, around July, I went to Bahama. That's when it was still just brick and mortar. I spent maybe a couple of months there, let's say July, August, September. And in fact, it wasn't that long because I was back at JCN in August. So let's say a couple of months, somewhere in 2014, I left. Going to Bahama, I thought I had this awesome opportunity. It didn't work out.
No.
And so I had the awesome opportunity because I had left such a instrumental, I mean, I always tell people never leave a job on bad footing.
Right.
I was very honest with them, very open with them, and I poured my life into my job. Whenever they needed me, I mean, news is that kind of business.
Right.
You don't really have a personal life. You miss Mother's Days, you miss Father's Days, you miss birthdays, so it takes a lot of your time, but I was in such a good position that they took me back when it did work out with Bahama.
Wow.
So I was back at JCN in August of 2014, and oddly enough, I was covering the House of Assembly, and Michael Alpides would have come up to me and said, Sasha, I need somebody in communications to deal with VAT. And I was like, VAT? I don't know nothing but no numbers. I hate numbers. I did horrible in it when it came to school. That is not, plus VAT? For the first time in the Bahamas, no, that's not me. So the conversation eventually went away. He had another conversation with another senior government official at the time, and eventually I got the job, the communications officer in the Ministry of Finance, attached to what was then known as the VAT department. Now you could only imagine.
Amazing opportunity
how,
though.
right, it was an amazing opportunity, but it was, I guess I was almost perfectly fitted for the job because I was placed in a position where I no longer had to ask the questions, but I knew what was happening. So I was instrumental in implementing a tax in this country for the very first time, which I consider an honor, and I have to give kudos to John Roll, the former financial secretary of the Bahamas, who would have been instrumental in getting me that job, as well as the Minister of Finance at the time, Minister Michael Halkitis, well, Minister of State, as well as Martin Clark. So I found myself there for a few years. Eventually became communications supervisor over the entire team.
Wow.
And so it was a pretty good job. And at that point, we would have amalgamated with several different agencies, which is now known as the Department of Inland Revenue. So business license, VAT, and several other initiatives come under that umbrella. And so it was a mammoth task. Now you talk about challenges. Imagine this little 20-year-old, 20-year-old coming into the government sector for the very first time. I wasn't attached to nobody. I was just there off of my, my resume and
because people watching can say who you know.
Right. So people say who she is and how she gets this promotion so quick, and she don't know nothing. But it was so interesting because I got to learn how the government works. I got to learn a little bit about numbers. If anybody who knows me, I could count my money, but that's the extent of
right.
That's it. I hate numbers, and so it was an awesome opportunity. And out of that came another opportunity where I got to go to Turks and Caicos. So these people from Turks and Caicos was calling me, Sasha, we need a senior reporter. We need someone to run our newsroom. We've seen you. We know your work.
So now you are a senior reporter.
Right. So the opportunity came for me to leave the Department of Inland Revenue. And I thought long and hard. And I was like, leaving my country, going to another country. I don't know anything. But it's news. It's my foundation. Went over to Turks and Caicos in October of 2016. What year is this?
This is 2018.
Okay, so 2016 I was in Turks, head of a newsroom. They were going through an election period, so I had to hit the ground running. I was and it was different. It was culture. I missed home a lot, but that stint would have only happened for a period of 4 months, which brought me back here. Unfortunately, the situation with me leaving, I'm not going to go into any details, but the situation with me leaving Turks was very traumatic. So I came back home and I was very that was a low point for me, very low point. And I was home and just trying to figure out what's gonna happen next.
How did you lean on anybody in particular though? I mean, how did you find your strength? Your
my pastor and my parents. It was very traumatizing for them too as parents. My family is very close.
Right.
It's the immediate family. There's just myself and my brother, my mom and my dad, and we've always been close. And so it was them and my pastor. My pastor, he's like one of the best people in the world. Anyone who knows me knows that he's someone that I love. And so definitely he would have helped me to get through what I saw was probably one of the lowest points in my life that I can fully recall.
Okay.
And so going through that period, it was I would call a wilderness period. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was back home living with my parents. I was depressed. I wasn't eating. So people know that, Sasha ain't eating.
And everything was going so good.
Right.
I was just on this path all the way up.
So it was just interesting. And then I hit up a few friends who I needed to start looking for a job again. I couldn't just stay home. I'm not that kind of person. I have a fighting spirit, and so it wouldn't have allowed me to just stay home. My parents were encouraging me, Sasha, go out for a walk, go and find something, read the newspapers. So I started doing some research, and I hit up one of my friends who was working to Alive at the time, and I said, if you guys have anything, just let me know. And she said, okay, I'm going to pass it on. And I mean, weeks went, months went, and nothing happened. And then eventually she called me. She was like, I need you to just come tomorrow. I was like, okay, I don't have no time. Just come tomorrow. Should I bring anything? She was like, just bring your resume. And so I went the next day. Interestingly enough, I had spoken, someone from UB had reached out to me to come and speak to some students about my career in journalism. And then after that, I had the interview. Went to the interview thinking this was going to be a sit down, your traditional interview, and it wasn't. I met with Johnny Engel, who was the Chief Alive champion at the time, who was responsible for marketing. And he said, I know who you are, and I know your work. Are you going to work hard for us? We really need someone in PR. And I said, well, I mean, what you see is what you get.
Right.
He asked me whether I was willing to go above and beyond. I said, well, I've worked in news, so if I need to work on a Saturday, I could work on a Saturday. It won't phase me. I've already been there. And with a startup company, it was like, it's going to be rough.
Right.
Alive was just pretty much still getting off the ground. And so I said, okay. So he said, when can you start? And I was like, as soon as you want me to. So he said, come tomorrow. You're starting tomorrow. And tomorrow now leads me to just a little over a year. I celebrated my 1 year anniversary back in March.
Awesome.
And so that's where I am today, alive as a PR and responsible for PR, manager responsible for PR.
And that is so awesome, Sasha. What are some of the things that you experienced in your PR journey, and while you're at Alive as well, that you would never forget? You would say, these are the things that I encountered, these are the people that I encountered, these are the situations that I was faced with, and I log in these today because these are definitely things that I need to look back on and obviously help others and inspire others with these.
I think my entire journey has always been about people. So from being a news reporter, I just had to build the stamina to be able to ask a Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham or Prime Minister Perry Christie the hard questions. I couldn't be intimidated by the fact that, hey, you're gonna stick a mic in a Prime Minister's face.
Right.
That carried straight through to the Department of Inland Revenue or the VAT Department, because I was about to embark on a journey where you're implementing tax in the country for the very first time, something that I think probably 90% of the population was against, right? And so dealing with people, I had to listen to the mother on the street who telling me she working 3 jobs and could barely feed her kids. And now I'm gonna tell her that I work for the VAT department, which was a part of applying tax to bread basket items that she's barely trying to afford. So for me, my journey has always been about knowing how to deal with people. I had to deal with prime ministers and politicians. I had to deal with police. I had to deal with people in the hospital. I had to deal with school children. I've dealt with so many people, and I found that dealing with people is probably the most important thing that I've learned, learning how to deal with people. I have to be able to deal with the 4-year-old boy just as well as deal with the head of the Baptist organization in the Bahamas. I have to know how to deal with the head of the nurses union just as well as I have to know how to deal with, a mother who just lost her son. I mean, those were my news days were some of the most hardest days of my life. Having to stick a mic in front of someone's face who just lost a loved one, it is not easy.
I'm sure.
And I give kudos to every single reporter who has to do it every day, because he who knows it feels it, and he who feels it knows it. And unless you know, and all they're doing is their job. I've had people run after me with cutlasses, telling me get off the scene.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, like real threats, because we get on the scene with a mic, we get on the scene with our cameras, and they see it as, oh my God, I just lost a loved one, and I see it as I have to get 2 stories in every day, and this just so happened
to be one
of those stories. And so my journey has been interesting, but it's all about people and making sure that you just know how to treat everyone the same way.
At what point in all of this did Happy Foods 242 come about?
When Bahamar let me go. When Bahamar said whatever they said, I'm not going to get it.
Right.
But when Bahamar said whatever they said, I was sitting home. And I can't take credit for it. I was sitting home and I said, you know what, Sasha, in this interim period, and this was even before JCN said, you know what, you can come back. Let me see how I could amalgamate my love for food and my love for journalism and mesh it together.
And so it was your drought.
Right.
Was where your birthing of what you really wanted to do took place.
So I had a conversation with my friend at the time, and she said, Sasha, just make it happen. You can do it. You could do it. And then I had another conversation with my director, who's still my director today. He said, Sasha, the hardest thing for you to do is start. I know you, and we worked together at Jones together, so he knew me pretty well. And he said, Sash,
I just want to stop you right there. I want you to say that line over again to the camera. The hardest thing
that you're gonna ever have to do is start. Once you start, there's no stopping. So, and I tell everyone that story, like, Jay is responsible for Happy Foods. If he didn't tell me that in the life light bulb didn't click. There would be no Happy Foods without him. And I really have to give him all the credit, because that conversation I had with him that night in my home was the conversation that birthed Happy Foods. And everything came seamlessly after he said that. He said, Sasha, what are you going to call it? I said, food makes me happy. I love my country. Happy Foods 242, that's the name of the show when we started. And Jay has been with me from day one, straight up to now. He's still with me, and he is the reason this show has still continued. If it wasn't for Jay, there would be no Happy Foods 242.
And how many seasons have you had today? I think it's about 8.
Up to now, we've done 8. I've already started the logistics for season 9. I want to at least get to 10. And it's so taxing. People don't realize how hard it is. I have a great team. Our team is small, so I have a director and photographer who's Jay. I have a videographer and an editor who's Kenny. Then I have my makeup artist, Waisha. My stylist is Shakara. So it's us 4, and then myself obviously as the host and the administrator, because I'm the one that's doing all the work. So I'm the one that's doing all the social media, all that stuff. And all of us have full-time jobs.
Right.
And so it's really a labor of love on our behalf. But my team, we've pretty much been together, all of us, from day one. I think Shakara came on in season 3. I think Waisha came on in season 4. So we've been together pretty long. And I'd say something. A lot of people think that we started making money from day one. We didn't. We didn't start making money until season 4.
Wow.
And even in season 4, we told people just to bless us. That's what I would go out and say. Look, we're not charging a fee for you to be on this program, but just give us something, you know. And so people graciously did that. And then Jay was like, Sasha, come on now. We got to make some money from this.
Right.
We obviously still doing this longer than we anticipated. We have to make some money. So I sat down and I said, okay, let me figure out a way to monetize this. I got my dad involved because I hate numbers, like I've said already.
Right.
And he said, okay, well, look at industry standards, look at what you're doing, look at what cable is prepared, because we started at JCN too.
Right.
Obviously, having worked at JCN, I said, okay, maybe we should pitch it to JCN. So JCN was charging us a fee to put it on. I think we started with them in season 4, and then we moved to cable in season 5. So in season 5, we really started charging. So we've been charging a set fee now for 4 seasons, and we've had people that try to come on the show, and we're just booked out. Each season is 10 shows.
Wow.
So 10 times 8 is 80. And we did a couple of shows in our first season that were just considered Christmas special. So we've done 80 plus shows.
Wow.
And I can't take all the credit. Jay, Kenny, Shakara, and Waisha are the reason why the show is still going.
What are some of the things with Happy Foods 242? What are some of the things that it has taught you personally? You talked about your relationships with people and how you're a people person, and it's always been about people. But in dealing with restaurant managers, in dealing with persons who want to advertise on your show, in dealing with your personal life, with just balancing everything, your 9 to 5, all of that. Since the day you stepped out and said, I am going to do my own show, this is a dream that I have. It came out of a season of drought, but it's working pretty well. What are some of the things that you've learned about yourself that you didn't know before you started Happy Foods 242?
Wow, that's a really good question.
Because you said you have a fighting spirit. That's basically, and a fighting spirit means, yeah, I cry, just like everybody else. I believe just like everybody else. But the next day, what am I going to do?
Right.
So what are some of the things you learned about yourself in becoming an entrepreneur in the aspect of your own show?
I think managing people. I always go back to people because I love people, and everything that I've done has been around people. This show wouldn't be what it is without the team. But if I didn't treat the team in a certain way, there would still be no show. If I didn't treat Jay a certain way, if I didn't make them feel like they were a part of the show, that the show is just as much theirs as it is mine, that is so important. Anywhere you go, and I even give advice to restaurant managers. When I go into a restaurant, that person says, hey Sasha, I haven't seen you for a long time, how are your parents? That goes a long way. I am coming back, right? So when I can go to my team and say, hey Kenny, happy birthday. Hey Shakara, how's the child? Hey, why? How's Abe, her husband? And who's also helped us with some drone footage that we've incorporated over the last 2 seasons. That makes them feel so good. And just to say good morning to him, everybody have a great week. Even when we're not shooting, I try to check up on them as much as possible. And so I've learned that managing people in a business is very important, and it's very important to look at the human aspects of managing people. I can't just look at them as they work for me.
Right.
I have to know that everyone on this team has a 9 to 5 or a job. Jay actually works several jobs.
Wow.
As does Kenny. Waisha is a full-time beauty, a makeup artist. Shakara has a full-time job. She also is an entrepreneur herself. And so I try to take all of that into consideration. So I've learned how to manage people. I've learned how to be patient, because there would be some people in the first couple of seasons, yeah, we could do it. Y'all show up this day, that day, and the day of they would cancel on us. I've had people say, just turn us down. They didn't believe in the show. The first season, our very first show was The Glass Kitchen. And from then to now, Erica has been a support to us. Anyone who goes to the Glass Kitchen knows Erica Robinson, daughter of Tommy Robinson. She's always been an inspiration behind the show. Without her, we still wouldn't. I mean, she's also a very, very important piece to the show. And so managing people, being patient, learning that no may just mean a bigger yes later down the road. And let me explain that particular point. Anyone who knows me knows that I love the Ocean Club. I love to go there because that's one of the places where I get the, hey Sasha, how's mom and dad? We haven't seen you in a long time. What you doing for your birthday? You won't be in here in a little while. What happened? You neglecting us? So I love to go there because I feel like it's my family. I feel like they genuinely care about who it is that I am.
Right.
From day one, from our very first season, I had been trying to get Ocean Club, more specifically the restaurant called Dune, on the show. There were so many things that happened. We had some hurricanes, they had closed, they were doing renovations, they had some change of staff. So many things happened from season 1 to now. In season 7, which would have been last year, they finally said yes. They had said, and it wasn't that they said no, it just couldn't happen.
Just wasn't working out.
And when it did beyond my wildest dreams. They invited the entire team to come on property for a full day. I took a full day off from work. And I have to shout out my, alive at some point because they understand. When I say I have to shoot in the day, I'll come to work after we're done. They say, okay, it's no problem. But the management and staff, well, it's now 4 seasons, but it was the one and only Ocean Club at the time. They told us, come for the day. We'll put you guys in a room. Just don't get no makeup. Don't mess up anything or anything. We'll make sure all of the team has breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Wow.
We'll allow you full reign over the property. Just don't shoot any guests. When you have a brand like that realizes that you've been searching, and I think really what happened there is too, they were waiting to see our growth, whether we were going to stick with it, whether this was just going to be a show that came and went.
And that's important to their brand too.
I think it was important for them to see that, hey, okay, maybe she is serious, along with the other things that had happened that we had no control over. And in season 7, we opened up with Ocean Club, and no one today can tell me anything about this show because a brand like the one in Ocean Club goes beyond New Providence, goes beyond the Bahamas. They have a property in Dubai.
Right.
And there's a possibility that Happy Foods can end up in Dubai. You just never, ever know.
You never know, the sky's the limit.
And so, they would have said, Sasha, we can't do it. They would have even changed. I was in talks with one of the general managers. He left their property and went to Atlantis. So many things happened, and I was getting so discouraged because this is like my favorite place to go. I have to do them. And eventually it came to fruition. And oddly enough, not even oddly enough, by God, it happened for season 7, and 7 is one of the perfect numbers in the Bible. It's also one of my favorite numbers.
Right.
And so it really taught me, like, Sasha, you just got to be patient.
Yes, and patience produces, it fuels the growth because it teaches you a lot of things about yourself as you shared along the way. Now, what are some of your favorite foods? You're a foodie, so I'm sure, you can't pick just one. So give us some of your favorite foods.
We've done so many shows, but for me personally, I love Bahamian food.
Okay.
A good crack conch with a kalik.
Right.
I mean, at the end of a long week, there's
Right.
nothing better. I like so many different things. There's not much I eat. Like I told one of my coworkers just this week, she was like, she can't believe I don't like peanut butter. That's probably one of the things I hate.
Natasha, everybody like peanut butter, though,
I
especially
hate-
when you mix it with the jelly and put it
No,
on the
I
bread and
hate
then like
peanut butter.
allow it
I
to
hate
squirt out
that
the sandwich.
I hate it. But
Wow.
everything else, I would try at least once. I love going to restaurants, and it doesn't even have to be, for a reason. I'm the kind of person, it's Tuesday, I had a long day at work, and I drive straight to Bahama, or I drive straight out here to Drifters, or I drive straight to Ocean Club, and I just sit down and I just want a meal. Like, that does wonders for my
just
spirit.
always-
Yeah, like, it may not do anything for anyone else, but for me,
But a meal does wonders for your
no,
spirit.
seriously, like I'm like,
It's your happy place.
Right, I get rejuvenated, I'm re-energized. Okay, Sasha, whatever happens today, we're gonna just leave it there, and tomorrow you tackle it. But for now, we have this beautiful meal, so you gonna eat.
Right.
So I mean, I love so much. I love trying new cuisine. I like going to new restaurants. Now the thing with me in new restaurants is you got to be open at least a year.
Right.
Right. We like new things, but what I don't like to do is go when everybody. I like the dust to settle.
Yes.
Once the dust has settled, then I go. For instance, the season we did Wild Time. Wild Time has been open now for I think they said over a year.
Right.
And it's been really good. And so we would have shot them this season. So that I mean I can't think of any food that I don't like outside of peanut butter. You don't get me to eat peanut butter.
Right. So tell us now, would you ever go back to law?
They say never say never.
Never say never. But the good thing about it is, see, you never know which direction your trade winds are going to blow.
So
you
I
never
don't
know.
answer that directly except to say never say never. And oddly enough, I didn't say this, but while I was at JCN, I ended up covering so much court. Like I covered so many crime scenes and court that I felt like, okay, and even my bosses at the time, they would say, okay, Sasha, what does this legal terminology mean? What does this mean? So I used my legal degrees to some extent, and still today when people try to get one over on me, I still go back into mine and say, no, this is what it is, this is what I signed, this is what we agreed to, no, you have to honor this. So I still use it day to day. I won't say that, I'll just say never say never.
Right.
You just never know.
Perfect. Now, do you have do you have a favorite scripture verse or quote that you live by?
I don't have a favorite scripture or quote. What I have is a favorite song. Every morning without failure, I get up at 5. And whether it is I'm going to the gym or I'm just doing my own personal devotion, I listen to Greatest Thy Faithfulness. That is a song that was a favorite of both my grandmothers, now deceased. And it's just something about that song. Every morning you have a chance to be new. And it says morning by morning, new mercies I see.
Right.
And so that's a song that I always keep near and dear to my heart.
Excellent. And having said everything that you said and everything that you shared, and you talked about your journey from then to now, you're now an entrepreneur, you're now a PR maven, you said you go back to your law at certain points in time. Would you say that in 2018, and you can look straight into the camera and answer this, would you say that in 2018 that you are on the rise?
In 2018, I am definitely on the rise. Definitely.